Oh boy, this video has been a long time coming. I was supposed to release this back in, I probably should have been January. I released my top movies, which was a fun video, very much for me. But as I described in my top movies, I basically was like, let's write down all the media that I watched for this year. And rules I've written, I have on my laptop, is that we're going down the list of all the stuff that I watch. They had to have come out in 2024, and I'm going to rank them from like the one that was my least favorite to my most favorite, the top shows. At some point, I will get into honorable mentions, which are stuff that were new to me but did not come out in 2024. The rules for this one are a little bit different than the movie one because we have seasons. So if a season did come out in 2024, I did include that as well, and we'll be judging it based off that season. So let's get this party started, and yeah. It is not a surprise of which is going to be my worst one. The Acolyte. I made 2 videos about The Acolyte. Garnered some decent interactions with one I posted about The Acolyte. Star Wars fans are very passionate. So much so that I was like, I don't know if I want to make any kind of Star Wars content. Jeez Louise. Yeah, but the Acolyte, basically my input was like, was The Acolyte bad because it's new, or is it bad because it actually was bad? And that was a topic that I kind of brought up, and I really don't know. It was just one of those things that like, I didn't think it was the worst thing I watched, but also like, I think I said it kind of like with the Joker 2. I was just like, I watched it, but I just don't, it was like I think I even did say this in my video where it was like I went to a restaurant and I tried something new, and my friend's like, how did it taste? And I was like, I mean, it was alright, but I don't think I'd get it again. And that's exactly how I felt about The Acolyte. So that's really about it. There's not more I want to say. I'm sorry, Star Wars fans. But it was crazy though, when Skeleton Crew came out, I didn't hear anything said about that. And it was a little weird. It was quiet, too quiet. And I don't know if that's because just no one cared to watch it, but I heard it was decent. Haven't watched it, but maybe. Next show. Echo. Echo was like, there are a lot of Marvel shows that came out that did just feel like a bit of a chore to watch. The hardest one I remember to watch was probably Secret Invasion, which I love that storyline. And it's just like, man, I hope they redo Scrolls sometimes later, especially if they're bringing like the Fantastic Four stuff in there, and I hope so. But yeah, Echo was all right. Like it was just, but like there were so many other things that I watched that I enjoyed a bit better. That like they all can't be like in the top 10, right? So it did give us more about the Kingpin, him coming back. There was some like parts of that where like I don't really understand how this is going down because he got shot in the face, but also like the Kingpin is pretty resilient. How's this going to tie in with Daredevil, which I'm really excited for. That comes out in like a few days. I think tomorrow at the time I'm recording this. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see about that. But Echo was, there are aspects of it I liked. I liked the kind of more like, it was very laid back, wasn't too like crazy in the city, small town shenanigans. But there are other stuff out there. There's a lot to watch this past year. We gotta keep this list going. The Boys season 4. The Boys season 4 was just kind of, I remember when I first watched The Boys, I was just like, oh my god, this show is so different. This show is so edgy, it's so raw, it's so despicable and vile. Now I'm like, this show's too edgy, it's too raw, it's too, I feel like the edginess is just kind of shoved in your face at this point. That's what I kind of feel. It's just like, yeah, we're on Amazon Prime. We can say whatever we want. F the system, but we're on Amazon Prime. Remember that? And it's just kind of like, yeah, we say curse words. Oi, mate, I'm butcher. I need therapy, and I hate soups. We're gonna blow people up. Oi, bruv. That's just like I'm just kind of tired of it. The only I do remember there were scenes though, where the scene I remember being hyped the most is like the very end when they're playing was that Lithium by Nirvana. And I was like, oh god, that's not even like my favorite Nirvana song, but I was just like, I was kind of hyped for that part, and I was like, I wish that was kind of the rest of the season. But hopefully they can just end it with the next one. I think sometimes shows can't overstay their welcome, and I don't know much about like the comics, but I hear they did change some things, so I don't know, like let's wrap it up, put the fries in the bag. Agatha Wong. Agatha actually wasn't that bad. I'm gonna say it. You can fight me on that one, but there were parts about it that I don't know, maybe it's because I watched it during Halloween when it came out, right? I thought Aubrey Plaza's death was a really good choice. I think they need to do way more with that somehow. I don't know how they're gonna get Deadpool and Thanos involved with that, but they need to. I don't know, but like just her death was peak. Definitely they are setting up for more younger Avengers, stuff like that. I can tell, but they're each episode had like kind of a theme, and some of them were fun, some of them were like meh, but overall I can't complain too much about it, which I think is very funny though for this next one. And I don't know how people feel about how I put this one where it was at, but over Agatha, I don't know, let's just rip the band-aid off. Actually, these next two might be controversial, and they might say a lot about me, I don't know, but Yeah, Family Guy. I watch Family Guy. I've watched Family Guy since for as long as I can remember. It's just one of those shows that I can put on, shut my brain down, and be like, duh. And so, yeah, I watched. There was a season 22, and there were like Hulu specials that were like released. Yeah, that's just it. And the thing about it, like plot wise, I'm sure The Boys and Agatha were better. If you were to ask me to rewatch those shows, I wouldn't. But if you tell me to put on some Family Guy, yeah, I'm going to, because it's just easier to watch. It's easier to digest. You know, as a fact, I was actually watching Family Guy, the latest season that just like there was like a Top Gun episode or whatever that I just watched, and it was really stupid, and I realized that, but I ate it up like a McDonald's chicken nugget. I ate it up. It was really stupid. Sometimes it's just fun to watch something really stupid, like in that episode of Arthur. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Next one, I've heard a lot of beef had about this show. And I wonder if it's one of those things where, like, you know, because the internet is so vast and there's so much content to assume, I see a lot of people hate this show. And mind you, it's still pretty low on my list. But I did watch it. I forgot why I started watching it, but I ended up watching it. It's like I said, one of the things that, like, I wonder if people just see clips of this, or they see, like, people wear the outfits. Because, like, one of the critiques I see about the show, everyone's like, Hot Topic is nothing but Has-Been Hotel and Disney products or something like that. Which, you know, I've been going to Hot Topic for a lot of years of my life, and I'll be honest with you, the store looks the same to me. I get, like, they used to have trip pants or something like that back in the day, but, like, times are changing, I guess. Yeah, capitalism, you know, what's hot and topic at this point? I'm sorry, it's not the same. Anyone out there, make your own pants. That's all I have to tell you. DEIY. It'll look better. It'll look crustier. That's all I gotta tell you. But, like, I watched the show, and as very corny this show is, the premise of it is actually like, oh, this was interesting. Like, what if people who get sent to hell could be redeemed and get sent to heaven? It's an interesting storyline. Yeah, it's wrapped in a very, like, simplistic kind of animation and a corny musical, but I was like, that's a pretty cool it kind of reminded me of The Good Place, where, like, they want to make a system, well, like, spoilers for The Good Place. You know, it's about the afterlife, and what if we create a system where, like, people can, like, get out of, like, the bad place, or if someone is bad, what can they do to become good? Or is the system rigged? Because, like, you learned that, like, in The Good Place, like, the system is kind of, like, it is kind of rigged in a way where, like, everyone ends up going to the bad place. No one really gets sent to the good place. And it's kind of, like, in a way, like, even heaven seems like that, and it has been tell, where it's like, oh, we want people to go to hell so we can, like, kill them for fun. Like, that's what the angels do. And I was like, this is, like, some really creepy biblical stuff. And I was like, yeah, it's in a weird, like, goofy little animation, but I was like, this is darker than I was gonna be. So yeah, I just wonder if people, like, hate it because they just see clips of it, or they just don't want to see the Hot Topic, or like, maybe they watch the Haluva Boss or whatever, and they just compared it to that. So I don't know, but, like, in the words of to paraphrase Parsenex, you know, when I was watching this show, is it better to be born good or to overcome evil? That's a topic that, yeah, it has been got kind of deep for me, and I was like, but that was about it. I don't know if they're making a season 2, or, like, that was literally the beginning of the year, so I was like, I probably will never watch this show again. But it was an interesting ride, and as a person who loves consuming content, whether I like it or not, I'm gonna at least give it a try. You never don't knock it till you try it, I guess, but it was okay. There still were better shows for me, like this next one, which I don't consider it better. I just know I ate it up, the drama. Cobra Kai season 6 part 1 through 2. The third part just dropped. I think it's the last part, and they're about to make a movie, and I was like, how does this all tie in? But Cobra Kai is a show that I've been watching. I had YouTube Red when this show came out. That's how long I've been watching this show. It's not even YouTube Red anymore. What's it, YouTube Premium now? But I was like, I've watched this show so long, and the amount of drama in this show, and I've talked about this show before, I think on a short, and I was just like, it's just so, like, oh my god, everything can be solved if you just shut up and stop doing karate and just talk to each other. Everyone has all these petty beefs and rivalry that, like, overpass centuries. Like, oh, your master hated my master, now I hate you now, you know? It is ridiculous, but, like, every time I watch it, I'm like, oh man, I'm eating this. There was one season, I think it was like season 3 or 4, where I was watching it with people, and it was so juicy that, like, no, I watched it in, like, one night. The next day, people were like, was it good? And I was like, bro, I didn't say it was good. I didn't tell them. I was like, bro, the drama. And so I rewatched it with them again the next day, and every episode came on, we were like, what's gonna happen next? Because they always, and they're like, cut it right there, and then they force you to watch the next one, and we rewatched that season again. But this last one, I was like, I just want this show to be over because it's so annoying. But, like, I'm this far deep, and I can't look away. So that's Cobra Kai. That's the number 15 rant. But this next show, I'm not necessarily the target audience, but I feel it. And I'm 14. Jurassic World Chaos Theory, season 1 through 2. They released both these seasons in like the span of a year, which I was like crazy. But I watched the original Jurassic Camp Crustacean. Camp Krusty, that's what I always called it. And I just remember it being like, oh, this is a bit darker than I just remember being like, this is a kid show, but like it's got some themes that are like pretty dark. And this one, because they're older now, I feel the themes are even darker. Opening scene, they're like in a boat and being chased by like these Majungasaurus on literally isolated on a freight boat ship or whatever, and it's crazy. And then there are like scenes where they're like in the jungle, you know, being attacked by dinosaurs and like alligators, or was it hippos? This is like kind of scary. Like I would not want to be in this situation at all. Now there's like some like evil poaching like trading, like they're making dinosaurs in like these underground biological labs. So I'm like, where the mainline series, come on, man, like you can step it up is all I'm saying. And with this new one about to come out, I have my mixed opinions on it, but you know, let's see where we can go with this. I think I mentioned that I watched Ted 2 and 1 on my movie one. I don't remember, but I watched them so I can watch the Ted show, even though technically the Ted show's a prequel. You know, I saw a lot of clips on it on the internet, and I was like, you know what, let's watch it. It was solid. It was goofy, you know, like like I said, I watch Family Guy, and sometimes I like kind of corniness. Seth MacFarlane, like, you know, he's got corny stuff, and I'm a little corny myself. So what else can I say? It's a talking bear who's foul. The CGI is actually pretty good for just like a basic show. There are some interesting themes along with the show. I won't get too into it. Overall, like, yeah, I'd recommend watching Ted. Like, you know, if you're just guessing and watching the background. 12. Now, I don't know if I guess I consider this part of a show, but the South Park End of Obesity. I mentioned this, and I did talk about this last year, but first of all, South Park is a show that I have been watching just about as long as I've been watching Family Guy, if not longer. But there are parts where I'm like, oh my god, when is the show gonna end too? You know, like, well, I guess along with Family Guy, like The Simpsons, these things are going on forever. And Obesity was kind of funny considering all the craziness that happened last year with certain healthcare news. Yeah, it really was like, dang, I kind of feel this hard, and I think I had to give it because it was a very relatable satire piece. So now we are getting closer to some nitty gritties here. We're like, I guess we're just kind of entering the mid range, so we're getting now tipping to like kind of the juicy bits. So this next one, it almost made it to my 10, but it didn't, and I'll give you a reason why. Boom. The Bear season 3. Now, I feel artistically there was a lot of good things about this season. There were some episodes that like focus on certain characters that I was like, oh, this is cool, we're getting an episode on this specific person. A lot of good shots, a lot of good dialogue, but overall, I can tell it was a setup season. It was a setup season for what was supposed to come for season 4. And for that, I'm like, setup seasons are cool, but it's just like kind of boring sometimes, I'll be honest with you. And you know, I wanted more, but like I said, I did realize that like, oh, this is not like the full, like this is a season that's split into 2, and the next part would be 4, you know. So for that I have to wait, and I'm pretty sure season 4 is going to be bliss. I'm pretty sure season 4, when it does comes out, probably will be my next 10 for whatever year that is. But okay, now before I get into my top 10s, let's talk about some shows that I watched that came out last year, but they were new to me, or there were some I want to like kind of give a shout out to. Like I said, because I think this is the reason why I started watching Hazbin Hotel, is I did watch a little bit of Helluva Boss, and I know that's like a web series, but I think I got a clip on it, and then I somehow ended up watching some of it, and it was just kind of like I think it kind of reminded me of like a cruder version of Billy and Mandy. That's like the vibe I get from it a little bit, like the kind of the art style. I don't really have any thoughts on it. It's been so long since I really watched it. Yeah. So I was just like, yeah, it's okay. Cause that's why it reminds me of Billy and Mandy, because the voice of Billy's in it. I was like, that's Billy. I rewatched Another Point. I just want to point that out there because I like talking about Godzilla, but I did rewatch that show, and you know what? That show is better than I think people get credit for. I'm gonna say it. I had fun watching it. It's very confusing when it gets into like the mathematicals of like dimensions and stuff, but like it was like our first like Godzilla anime, like actual anime. So you know, I have to give it that. And you know, this interdimensional shadow version of Godzilla is a crazy one. Also, we don't get much Jack art love, so I gotta give him that. I know he has skinny little legs, but man, these jackets are so cool. And some of the characters, this guy, I've said it before, strongest character in anime. I also rewatch IT Crowd, if you know things I watch. Great show. Overall, just go watch IT Crowd. I started watching Malcolm in the Middle, and I was previously watching Modern Family. I don't know if I was finished that in 2024. It's been a long time, really, since I can remember that. But I started watching Malcolm in the Middle. And I can tell you this now, I like it way much better than Modern Family. I don't know if you can compare those two, but they are both about families. I have some beefs I have with Modern Family. I mean, overall I did enjoy the show, but that's gonna come with a different video. Gen V. I watched Gen V just because I watched The Boys. Did I waste my time? Gen V was actually, it was okay. I think it was better than the last season of The Boys, but overall, you know, young adults shows, I'm like, why you gotta make so much? Like, it's just, it's kind of predictable, I think. Another show I rewatched, it was the Looney Tunes show. I think the best versions of Looney Tunes, I'm gonna say it. Daffy Duck is hilarious. Also, I watched a little bit of Phineas and Ferb. Dual Survival's in the show I rewatched. I'm this list show that I started rewatching because there was not a lot of new shows that I watched that weren't part of this last year. But Dual Survival was a show about surviving. Correct. And it's always an interesting watch to watch survival shows. Over the Garden Wall was another one that I rewatched, and I made a whole video about it, and it's one of my favorite videos I ever made. And overall, it's such a good show. Okay, another show that is kind of one of those like guilty pleasures, Big Bang Theory. I've seen Big Bang Theory obviously when it first came out. I remember like how revolutionary for the time it came out, and then over time it's like, okay, this is getting a little too like mainstream, I guess, because I was watching it a while back, and so I picked off basically where I left off, which is like some of those later seasons that get a little like, okay, can we pick up the pace? And it's just like one of those shows that like if I had none to watch, I'll put it on. And you know, every now and then there'd be like a nerdy joke, like, I get that joke because it's nerdy. And then after that, it's like, I don't really care about the rest of this, but hey, you know, it's just, sometimes you just get bored. Now this next show, and the whole reason I even make this honorable mention list part is for this next show in particular. I watched The Boondock. Now, here's the thing. A long time ago, maybe like 10 years ago, I tried watching The Boondock, and I could not get into it. Not to say that it was bad. I didn't really watch a lot of crude humor type shows. I've watched some now that I'm older. I've watched them now, but like I just didn't get a lot of them. I didn't get why do people like crude humor? But especially The Boondocks. Boondocks takes like adult comedy to a different level because there's so much like kind of social commentary layered into the humor of it. And I basically kind of had to experience a little bit life more to kind of understand why The Boondocks is such a good show. And by golly, Miss Molly, it is. It's such, I mean, if this show came out this year, I'd put it in like definitely top 5 of like some of the best shows. Now later seasons, you know, because the original creator wasn't there, they get a little weird, but like the characters, all of them have like a role that they play, and they're like their archetypes that they play, and they play them so well. Uncle Ruckus, Granddad, Riley, you know, like all of them, like they have a role that they play. Boondock's a good show. It's just such a good, funny show that some of the best like kind of adult comedy shows, like those Adult Swim type shows. So yeah, those are all those other shows I watched for 2024. Now let's get into the top 10s, baby. Controversial alert. My top 10 show, Rings of Power Season 2. So I get it. I know people who did not like this show, but the reason I put it, at least in top 10, is it was like probably like the only really like big actiony kind of live action show that I remember really watching this year. And I love big theatrics. One of the reasons I love the Lord of the Rings series, or I even remember watching like Game of Thrones. I want to see like swords clashing, arrows flying. Yeah, like I don't know everything about the source material. I know a decent amount to be like, you know, that's maybe not accurate, but at the end of the day, you know, it was cool to see fighting. It was cool because like the first season was kind of like slow, and I didn't really care much for like how Sauron was portrayed. In this one, I thought it was much better. They ramped it up a bit more. There was a part where like, I have the rings of power, and he said the name. There was like that cool song with, I think, the lead singer of Meshuggah made. We saw the Balrog. I think there was just enough cookie crumbs for me to be like, yeah, I'll eat this up. I'll eat it up. I'll eat it up. Gandalf. Like, I'll eat it up. I'm not going to be ashamed of it. Sometimes shows know how to play me like a fiddle, and I will not either like sometimes fall for it. So, number 9. I'm going to start including shows that are not traditional media. And the reason why is because I see like a lot of media going that way, and it probably will keep going that way in the future. So, might as well jump on the boat, right? Bit City is a kind of web series done by Smosh, which they've done some interesting things lately since Anthony Quesadilla got back together with them. A lot of people describe it as like pretty much the SNL of like YouTube. Like, that's pretty much what it is. It's a little corny. There are a lot of like references you kind of will get if you watch some of the other channels, but I was like, dang, I'm getting along with this. It is kind of cool to see just like a pretty much a productive, almost like natural TV level like kind of production on YouTube. And it's so crazy that like we are now seeing that era of YouTube like starting to take off. There's still small creators like, me, I guess, and then there's still some like big creators who do it so, like, I don't know, like Video Game Donkey or something. Then you saw these big productions that are like, like Dropout TV and Try Guys or whatever. Yeah, it's cool seeing them like pretty much do these game shows and stuff like that, and you can like actually just straight up watch it now. And the future is now, old man. That's all I gotta say. Number 8. What We Do in the Shadows season 6. Now, this would have gone higher on my list, but I wouldn't say I was disappointed with this season, but there was a lot more that I kind of wanted with this season. Although it's still one of my favorite shows, and it was a show that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the characters. I loved the writing, just overall. So that's I gotta give some brag points for that. So this last season, though, I did want more from it, but I did enjoy, for the most part, what I saw. Ending was kind of cute, bittersweet. But the fact that the whole premise of the show relies kind of heavily focuses on Guillermo wanting to be a vampire. He becomes one, and then he gets reverted, and it's just kind of like, well, you kind of have this last season that's just like him like dealing with that, and it's just kind of like, I feel like they should have happened like either earlier or never happened at all. But I don't know. Overall, though, like I said, look, I love Matt Berry. I love all the characters, Colin Robinson, Nadja, Nandor, the neighbors. Like, I had a lot of history with that show. I remember when I first discovered it, and I got so many people to watch that show. So, yeah, I had to give it some props. So, Vox Machina Season 3. I mean, I like the show. I like D&D. I like all that nerdy crap. So, yeah, I had to give some... I could have probably put this higher, but I think the reasons why I didn't put it higher, because I want to say that there might be like 1 or 2 more seasons left, and there are parts of it I'm like, well, let's see how these next seasons go. I honestly, it's been so while since I watched it that I remember much of it, but I remember just being like, kind of like, oh, this is cool. But there are other shows that I watched this year that I remember more, and I guess I'm like, oh, they made more impression on me, so I'm not gonna put that much higher. Like this next one, Bada Bing. Knuckles I put like really pretty high up here because, man, like I remember like this, I made the video about Knuckles, and it was probably one of my first videos that got like, I think breached over 1,000 views, and I was just so shocked. Why did this video about Knuckles do so well? I don't know if it's because like the Sonic community is like just such a happy little community, but like I just remember being like, dang, like, and Knuckles just a corny little goofy show. It's just a silly little guy, he's just a silly little guy. So yeah, that's how I felt about the show. It was silly. It was charming. I guess that's the word I can think of. And yeah, will there be a season 2? I highly doubt it. But I'm okay with that. This little period piece it has there in the Sonic universe. I'm okay with that. We don't need any more. But if we do get more, I don't think I could play. Delicious in Dungeon. I actually got to meet Damien Haas, the English dub for Lyos. I got to meet him. I guess that kind of ties into Bit City a little bit too, but being from Smosh, he's a voice actor, and I've gotten to meet ProZD before too, who also can't remember the little chef. He's a dwarf. What's his name? Kenji? No, I don't remember his name. I don't want to butcher it, but I got to meet both of them. I didn't realize that just now. But Delicious in Dungeon was such a good show. Like it started out as really like kind of this is fun. We're cooking up monsters and stuff. And every time I see them cook up food, I'm like, that looks good. I don't care if it's a monster. The grotesque creature, I want to eat it. Every piece of everything they make, I want to eat it so bad. But I remember like as the season went on, it just got more serious, and I was like, wait a minute, I thought this was just a cute little anime about cooking monsters. No, it got a little serious after a while. And then for that, I love the contrast of like, this is serious, but also like, this is also kind of fun. So we had a little bit of best of both worlds. So now, like I said, we're in the top 5 now. We're slowly winning down to number 1. Smiling Friends. I heard about this show, and I remember seeing clips of it a long time, because the Smiling Friends kind of lore runs deep. For those who know, I mean, we all know this clip. We know that clip, right? Or at least that audio, right? So the lore runs deep for that. But so I started watching it because one of my coworkers talked about it like a few years ago. Like I think when the first season came out, and we talked about it and watched some of it. But then like when the second one came out, my friend kept showing me a lot of clips of it, and then we watched some of it. I think the first episode we watched together was the where they go to like the fantasy land, and it's like Lord of the Rings type. This show, things like you kiss your dad in the mouth. It's such a corny I almost made a video about Smiling Friends, and I never did. Like I have it recorded and everything, and I just never released it. And I probably should at some point. But like it's a funny. It's just a dumb funny show. It's random. It's funny when people talk about like new shows, like, oh my god, Smiling Friends is just brain rot, and I'm like, bro, like I said, I grew up watching SpongeBob, like like I grew up watching some dumb stuff like Robot Chicken or whatever. Like we're all fried, man. Like as long as you go read a book and go play outside for a little bit, I think you'd be fine. But you know. So okay, serious time. These next shows are serious. 3. Bad Batch. The Bad Batch, or as they call it, The Last Batch. Was The Bad Batch the best Star Wars animated show? Definitely up there. I don't know if I say it's the best, but I delayed watching. I made a video about this one too, but I remember I delayed watching this season because I knew Acolyte was coming out, and I think I mentioned this in the video where I was like, I want to make sure this is the last piece of Star Wars media I watched for that year. And it was emotional. It was tragic, action packed. It was great. It's such a ride of watching Bad Batch, especially you get introduced to these characters in Clone Wars, and then you see their journey throughout those 3 seasons. They were tight, efficient 3 seasons in my opinion. They did a lot. They had a lot of interesting characters, a lot of returning characters from older series. Yeah, and I don't think the show is afraid to like pull some punches to like, because that's one thing like in Star Wars and like especially a lot of like just modern stuff. It's almost like they're scared of killing people off. Now they kill some spoilers. I mean, they kill some characters like, dang, I can't believe they killed that character off, one of the main line characters. So yeah, Bad Batch season 3. It was an emotional one. Now this next one, I almost made this number 1, but then something else happened. We'll get to that. The Penguin. I was not gonna watch The Penguin, but then I kept seeing, this is how shows always get me. I'm not gonna watch that show. That's what I say. And then I'll see like a screenshot from like, I can't believe this happened in episode 2 of like X show. Right, insert show here, and I'm like, oh. Okay, it doesn't look that interesting, and then a clip comes up, or then the memes come up, and I'm like, fine, I'll watch it. I'm not doing anything, but I watched The Penguin, and I'm glad I watched The Penguin. For one, when that show came out, it was a dark time for me. I'll be honest with you, and it kind of got me through that. Like, because the show was like a good distraction. There was a lot of drama. There was, I saw someone else have it worse. Watching someone else go through some crap on TV sometimes helps you put things into perspective. And I'm like, you know what? This show's good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I love kind of seeing this, like, and especially when I'm watching all these, like, kind of, like, villain anti-hero movies that, like, Sony has pushed out that have not been, like, the best one can say. It was kind of nice watching, like, oh, this is a series, like, I think a problem that the Sony ones do is they kind of try to make the bad guys seem like good guys. And I think that kind of worked a little bit in the early stages. At the end of the day, it's like, these are bad guys. And that's the reason we love them, like Bowser and Mario. We don't love Bowser because he's saving kittens. We love him because he does bad things, kidnapping princesses or kidnapping Mario, and then Luigi has to go fight him. You know what I mean? Like with King Boo or whatever. So like it's just we love bad guys because they're bad guys. There are very few stories where like I kind of want to see the good guy. Like if you have a story where like a bad guy turns into a good guy, that's kind of different. Like a Vegeta kind of situation, different. But it takes time to like make a character like that, to evolve. But there are moments where like if a show that has a bad guy is making me root for the bad guy, I think you've done your job, because like literally this bad guy's doing horrible things, but also you're seeing moments where like, dang, this guy, he gets knocked down but he gets back up again. You know what I'm saying? He's had a rough life, and all he wants to do is just like make him big. Like I said, he's still doing horrendous, manipulative, crazy things, but like they do kind of make you feel for this person, and you kind of want to see them be the big bag on top. Overall, it's like drama done really well. Especially, it didn't feel like I was watching a comic book movie. It just felt like I was watching kind of this mob gangster, like almost New York-ish style show. I've never seen The Sopranos, but maybe that's kind of what it reminds me of. If I watch Sopranos, I should probably watch Sopranos. I heard it's really good. But yeah, so Penguin, definitely 2. And I said it was going to be number 1, but then I actually forgot this next show came out. I don't know why I forgot, and it's crazy I put it at number 1 considering that I forgot about it. But then someone reminded me, I was like, oh, damn, I forgot how good this show was. Drum roll, please. Fallout. Like I said, I almost forgot this came out. I can't believe I almost did. Because when I watched Fallout, I'll never forget when I popped on the first episode. Someone was like, hey, Fallout came out today. I was like, oh, let me put it on. I didn't think much of it, Fallout. Video game adaptations are always going to be kind of like a hit or miss. They all can't be Sonic, right? So I put it on. And I remember I had somewhere to be in an hour. So I put it on, like, I can watch one episode and then we'll hop off. I finished that first episode. In the first episode, they introduced the ghoul, cowboy gunslinger, Walter Goggins is his name, whatever his name is. He was in Tomb Raider and was he Ant-Man as well? I don't remember, but he was there. And I was like, oh my god, I gotta keep watching more of this. and I almost canceled my plans to be like, yeah, I'm not feeling well, but I'm gonna watch Fallout. I remember I came home later the night. I mean, it's like 2 a.m. I was like, I'm putting on another episode. And it was great. You got the Fallout bangers playing, you know, like the I Don't Want to Set the Wall Fire and like It's Man. And then you put some songs that are like, yeah, they're not in the Fallout games, but I'm like, this gives Fallout vibes. Like some Johnny Cash, you know. Nat King Cole was like, you know, always a classic, put Orange Color Sky in there. So yeah, like it just, I obviously played Fallout because I love this. One of the love show. It was funny though, getting people who had never played Fallout to watch the show and like being like, "Did you get the reference? No, you don't, because you never played it." And then you're getting people to like play Fallout, right? And I love seeing like the posts of like Ella Purnell saying like, "Oh, I'm playing like New Vegas to like, you know, study for like the new series." Everyone's like, "Go to like the quarry or whatever," and she's like, "That was not a good idea." And seeing like a new set of people experience these games for the first time. Oh my gosh, the moral dilemmas you have to deal with when playing Fallout are just so crazy. Like, it's like so other games like, oh, would you like to pick the red door or the blue door? And then Fallout's like, would you like to decide to blow up a town? And I'm like, what? Oh my gosh, like just, and it brought back memories of that game, and you know, and I'm so glad that the end like teased New Vegas, and I'm just like, okay, so like what ending was canon? I gotta find this out. So I'm very excited for season 2. Very excited. Fallout was such a great show. I had such a great time watching it. Overall, there are some messages in there of, and just overall the Fallout series in general, of how dangerous like the world could get if you let certain powers get in control. And overall, like it does get that message. You talk about like nuclear war and stuff like that, and then just even seeing like those giant like salamanders. I can't remember what they call them. I know they were like, when they were Far Harbor, they were like axolotls or something like that. I can't remember what they're called. But then like you see the death. Oh man, when they put the death claws in there, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. I'm so excited. I think they did the show very well, and it didn't feel like just, oh, we're gonna like a make for one shot of the game. Let's try to make it. They even got Todd, right? our Lord and Savior Todd, to get involved. And like, we're gonna make this more like a game with its own story and its own line to fit in the universe. And I think that's a good way to make some adaptations. You know, just to, let's try not to like reinvent the wheel here. Let's try to fit it along like a spool in the wheel, I guess, you know. Yeah, Fallout, it was my favorite show last year. And you know, what was yours? And thank you for watching. Let's see what shows we got in store for this year. Juice out.